All right, so are you ready for this? We're going to do a deep dive into the world of this young golfer, Kai. We've got this YouTube video, and it's basically documenting his day,
Right.
from school to practice. And then he ends up playing a friendly 9 holes. But there's a bit of a twist, some pretty interesting stakes involved. Really gives you a slice of life look at his personality, his dedication to golf, and, well, let's just say his parking skills. They could use a little work.
I'm intrigued.
Right. I mean, it's amazing what you can learn about someone just from watching their daily routine.
Yeah.
So we've got pregame stretches. He's got the Cybertruck. There's some fun competitive banter that you won't want to miss. So are you ready to tee off on this deep dive?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it starts with Kai wrapping up his school day. And what really struck me was that he mentions, not leaving early for golf like some kids might. But he really seems to value that time with his peers.
That's interesting. It's a small detail, but it really shows, maybe a more mature perspective for someone his age. He's not letting golf consume his whole life. And that actually might help him in the long run, both on and off the course.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Then we see him arriving at Trump Jupiter. And he's talking about this ankle sprain he's got. You'd think it would throw him off his game, But he's still aiming for a 38. And he even has his preferred parking spot. Although getting in and out of that Cybertruck looks like an adventure in itself.
Yeah, that caught my eye too. I mean, it shows a certain level of confidence, maybe even a bit of stubbornness, which honestly in golf can be a good thing. That determination to stick to his routine, even with an injury, that's pretty telling.
For sure. Speaking of routine, let's talk about his warm-up. So we see him hitting wedges, then irons, and finally drivers. It's very methodical. He's really focusing on every single swing.
Oh yeah, it's classic muscle memory training. Started with the shorter clubs, lets him get that feel and control, And then gradually he prepares for the more powerful swings with the longer clubs. It's a smart approach.
It makes sense. Then we meet Chadwick, his friend. And, well, for this round at least, his golfing rival. There's some instant playful banter, a little trash talk, but you can tell it's all in good fun. What did you think of their dynamic?
Oh, their energy is great, infectious. You can see they like to push each other's buttons, but underneath it all, there's real respect and friendship. It's that healthy competition that brings out the best in both players.
Absolutely. And then comes the bet. If Kai shoots over 3 over par, Chadwick gets to drive his Cybertruck for a week. But if he manages to stay under, Chadwick takes him shopping. No spending limit. Pretty serious motivation right now.
Yeah, that's some serious motivation. It definitely adds another layer of pressure. But look at the rewards. I mean, for Kai, it's about keeping his prized possession. For Chadwick, it's about the experience, the thrill of driving that Cybertruck. It's interesting. It reveals something about their personalities, I think.
It does. So they tee off, and we finally get to see Kai in action. He hits the fairway on the first drive, always a good start. But then he faces this tricky bunker shot. And even for him, it looks challenging.
Right. And this is where you see his adaptability. He sees the situation, acknowledges it's tough, but he doesn't let it rattle him. He takes his time, picks his shot carefully, and then executes. You get a little glimpse into his problem-solving on the course.
Yeah, totally. And throughout the whole round, he's got this running commentary going, talking about his strategy, thoughts on the game, even mentions a Netflix documentary about the Menendez brothers.
I know. It's what makes this deep dive so interesting. It's not just about the golf. It's about getting to know Kai. He's letting us into his head, sharing his thoughts, interests, even anxieties. It creates a real connection with the viewer.
You're right. And it's so cool how even when he hits a bad shot, he's got this self-deprecating humor, like when he calls it scolding the ball.
Ah, that's resilience. And it's so important in golf. You're going to have good shots and bad shots. His ability to bounce back from a misstep, to not let it get to him, that's valuable. And the humor, it's like a pressure valve. Keeps the negativity from building up.
Okay, so we're a few holes in, and it's pretty neck and neck between Kai and Chadwick. Then he hits this incredible shot. He's in the trees, and he pulls off this amazing recovery with his 5-wood. Talk about clutch.
That's pure skill, composure under pressure. Being able to make a shot like that in that situation says a lot about his talent and mental game.
It was beautiful to watch. But of course, we can't forget about the putting. He's got this love-hate relationship with his short game. He even says he feels like he's better at chipping than putting.
Putting, it's often the mental game within the game. Demands so much focus and precision. It's interesting, he knows his struggles there. Shows self-awareness, which is so important for improvement in anything, really.
He definitely doesn't shy away from making fun of himself for it either. But even when he misses a putt, he doesn't dwell on it. He's always on to the next shot, focusing on what he can control.
That's the mindset of a champion. Compartmentalizing, Learning from mistakes without letting them derail you. Essential in any competition.
And we can't forget about the iguana. I mean, who expects to see that on a golf course? But Kai just rolls with it. Another funny little moment in this already pretty eventful day.
It's those unexpected moments that add so much, you know? They remind us, even in the middle of competition, there's room for surprise and fun.
So true. All right, so we're nearing the end of the front nine, and the tension is definitely building. Remember that bet? Well, things aren't looking so good for Kai. He's had a couple of bogeys, and Chadwick's starting to feel pretty confident about driving that Cybertruck.
This is where mental toughness comes in. The pressure is mounting, the stakes are high, every shot matters. How Kai handles this final stretch will be very revealing.
No kidding. He's definitely feeling the heat. He even says he's getting a little angry, slams his driver on the ground at one point. You can see that competitive fire.
Is that always a bad thing, though? You know, some athletes use that as a way to release frustration, to refocus. Could be a tactic for him.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about it like that. It could be a way to channel that energy and move forward.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
Well, he definitely needs to regroup because on the 8th hole, he hits his drive into the rough and then pulls out the wrong club. He's laughing at himself at this point.
Mistakes happen, even to the best. It's all about how you recover. His ability to laugh it off, to stay focused, that's maturity. And resilience.
He does recover well, hits his next shot onto the green. But then those putting woes come back. He ends up with another bogey. Chadwick's looking pretty smug.
It's a reminder that golf can come down to inches, fine margins, even with great shots. One missed putt can change everything.
So we come to the 9th, the final hole. And you can cut the tension with a knife. Kai knows he needs to do something incredible to win this bet. He steps up to the tee, takes a deep breath, and boom!
Yeah.
This fantastic drive right down the fairway.
It's a real test of his mental game, and he rises to the occasion. That drive makes a statement. It says, I'm not giving up.
Exactly. He follows it up with a solid approach shot, landing just off the green. Now, this is where things get really interesting. He's got this tricky chip shot, and he decides to go for it.
High risk, high reward. Chip in would be an amazing finish, but a mishit could cost him the match.
You can see the concentration on his face. He takes his time, lines up the shot, and oh, so close, it lips out.
Oh, so close. But even with the disappointment, he keeps his cool. Not letting that near miss get to him, that's key.
He's got one last putt to try and save par. The pressure is palpable, the Cybertruck is on the line. He takes his stance, addresses the ball, sinks the putt.
Wow. Clutch putt, under immense pressure, nerves of steel.
But wait, there's a twist. Chadwick reminds him of the fine print. Limit one per customer. Turns out, even if Kai had one, Chadwick wouldn't have been able to drive the Cybertruck anyway.
What a twist. So ironic. Adds a little humor to the end.
It was the perfect ending to a wild ride. We saw Kai's dedication, his skill, his resilience, and of course his sense of humor. This deep dive gave us a real look into what makes him tick on and off the course.
It did, and it makes you wonder, how much does mindset and attitude really contribute to success? Not just in golf, but in life in general.
That's a great question. It's clear that Kai's positive attitude, even when things get tough, helps him stay focused and keep pushing. What are your thoughts?
His self-awareness, laughing at himself, his determination, those are all signs of a growth mindset. And they're so important, not just in sports, but in anything you're passionate about.
So true. So what can our listeners take away from this deep dive into Kai's world? What really resonated with you?
I think it's a reminder that success isn't just about talent or skill. It's about mindset, resilience, and finding joy even when things are tough.
I love that. And it's a reminder that sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination. Even if Kai didn't win the bet, he had fun, he challenged himself, shared some laughs with his friend.
Exactly. And that's something we can all apply to our own lives, whether we're on the golf course, at work, or just dealing with everyday life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
This was a really fun deep dive. I'm curious to see what other adventures Kai gets up to. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up sometime.
I'd be down for that. Always more to learn and explore.
Well, that wraps up this part of our deep dive. We hope you enjoyed this look into Kai's world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those drives straight down the fairway.
It's a valuable skill, being able to move on from those setbacks and not lose your momentum.
Right. And let's not forget about the iguana. I mean, who expects to see that on a golf course? But Kai just rolls with it. Just another funny little moment in this already eventful day.
Yeah, it's those unexpected moments that add a lot to the story. You know, it reminds us that even with the competition, there's still room for surprise and a little amusement.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of the front nine, and the tension is definitely building. Remember that bet? Well, things aren't looking so good for Kai. He's had a couple bogeys. And Chadwick's starting to feel pretty good about his chances of driving that Cybertruck.
This is where mental fortitude really comes in. The pressure's on, the stakes are high, every shot matters. It'll be interesting to see how Kai handles this final stretch.
Yeah, no kidding. He's definitely feeling the heat. He even admits to getting a little angry, slams his driver on the ground at one point. You can see that competitive fire burning.
Do you think that's always a bad thing, though? I mean, some athletes, they use that kind of outburst as a way to release frustration, to refocus. Maybe it's a tactic for him.
That's a good point. Hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah, it could be a way to channel that intensity and then move forward.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works for you as a competitor.
Well, he definitely needs to regroup because on the 8th hole, he hits his drive into the rough and then he pulls out the wrong club. Even he's laughing at himself at this point.
It happens. Mistakes happen, even to the best players. It's all about how you recover, being able to laugh it off, stay focused. That's maturity right there.
He does recover beautifully, hits his next shot onto the green, but then those putting woes come back, ends up with another bogey, and Chadwick's looking pretty smug at this point.
It's a good reminder that golf is a game of inches, Even with great shots, you miss one putt and it can change everything.
We come to the 9th hole, the final hole, and the tension is palpable. Kai knows he needs something incredible to happen to win this bet. He steps up to the tee, takes a deep breath, and boom, this amazing drive right down the middle of the fairway.
Wow, talk about rising to the occasion. That drive is a statement. He's saying, I'm not done yet.
He's not giving up. He follows it up with a solid approach shot, lands just off the green. This is where things get really interesting. He's got this tricky chip shot, and he decides to just go for it.
Oh, that's risky. I mean, a chicken would be a dramatic ending, but if he misses, it could cost him the match.
The concentration on his face, you can just see it. He takes his time, lines up the shot, and so close. It lips out.
So close. But even then, even with that disappointment, he doesn't lose his composure. That's important, not letting that near miss get to him.
He's got one putt left to try and save par, and the pressure is on. The Cybertruck is on the line. He takes his stance, addresses the ball, and sinks the putt.
Unbelievable. That takes some serious guts. Clutch putt under that kind of pressure.
But wait, there's a twist. Chadwick reminds him of the fine print. Limit one per customer. So even if Kai had one, Chadwick couldn't have driven the Cybertruck anyway.
Oh, wow. What a twist. A little bit of irony there. It's a perfect way to end this. Adds a little humor. Yeah, it's a great reminder that sometimes those unexpected twists can be the best part of the story.
It really makes you think about how we all approach those curveballs life throws at us, right?
Absolutely. And, it's refreshing to see someone so young with such a balanced perspective. He's driven, but he's also having fun and not taking himself too seriously.
Yeah, that's a good point. That balance is definitely something we can all learn from. It's easy to get caught up in the end goal and forget to enjoy the process.
Exactly. It's a good reminder to take a step back and appreciate the whole journey. The wins are great, of course, but it's the growth, the resilience, the connections we make along the way that really matters.
So well said. This whole deep dive has been really insightful. It's amazing how much we can learn just from watching someone like Kai, even if it's just through YouTube video.
It shows the power of storytelling. We connect with people through their experiences, their struggles, and their wins. And in doing so, we often discover something about ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. I think our listeners will have a lot to think about after this episode.
I hope so. It's definitely given me a lot to consider, especially about the importance of mindset resilience and pursuing what you love with a sense of joy.
That's a great takeaway. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
It's good.
We hope you enjoyed this glimpse into Kai's world. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember to approach life's challenges with a smile and a healthy dose of determination.
And don't forget to have fun along the way.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.